everyone, and welcome back to my channel if you are a returning viewer, and welcome for the first time if this is your first time here. This is a part of a series that I call Cozy Things Chats, where I get to speak with different lovely friends about the things that they find cozy. So I'm really pleased to have a Bookstagrammer here with me this time, and Jessica is on Bookstagram as Jaja_admirer of words and coffee. And I will, of course, link her account down below. So thank you, Jessica, for coming on for a Cozy Things chat.
Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
So I love that in our reading interests, we do have some things that aren't similar, but we have an awful lot that is similar. And we both really like the same kinds of romance books. We aren't like, we wouldn't, I don't think, call ourselves romance readers, but I think we like romance plus something. So, you know, the like romantic suspense or historical fiction that has romance in it. We've both enjoyed some sweet romances. And we also like mysteries and Victorian literature. And what I love is that Jessica is soon to be a mother of 3, and she still makes time to read. So an inspiration for all the parents, or maybe soon to be parents, who are worried that they won't be able to read after they have kids. But I'm sure now in this time, just taking care of littles, all of the cozy things are really just you long for those cozy things. So I guess we can get into your list. And what is the first cozy thing on your list?
Yes. So the first cozy thing that I have, it's candles. There's just something about turning on a candle, and then I love the flavors of, like, this one is the Honey Crisp apple. They're from Bath and Body Works. Like little sweet scent. And there's something about, like, when you clean a room and then you just feel it finish once you turn on a candle, you're like, now it's extra clean. And it's just something like you just see it there, like, on, and it's just gives you like a little instant sense of easiness and like peacefulness. So that's like my first thing that I have. I love candles so much. Right now I can't turn them on because I don't know if it's the smell for a long time, but my little ones seem to be starting like sneezing the whole time. So I'm just like, okay. So now they've just become a bookshelf decor.
Which they do look nice on a bookshelf.
Yeah, I was like, okay. And my husband's like, why you keep buying if you're not, because I have a lot that are like still new. And he's like, why do you keep buying if you don't use them? I'm like, because one day they're gonna stop sneezing. But yeah, that's my
so
first cozy thing.
Oh, very nice. I love it. And yeah, I am definitely a fan of candles. And you know what you could do also maybe is just get some unscented ones if you like the look of them as well.
Yeah. I'll probably
like
try those.
Yeah, and I like to, especially during when the evenings are really dark, that time of the year, I like to light candles for dinner time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
just
romantic,
adds a
sets
nice,
the mood.
Yes, exactly. Alrighty, and what is the second cozy thing?
My second cozy thing is mugs. I like to think I collect mugs. It's just mainly like if you see a pretty one, you just get it. But this is the first mug that I was ever gifted by someone else.
Wow.
And she became my best friend. She gave this to me for my birthday. I was in college, and it's my favorite princess. I mean, it's Princess Jasmine. And
so
it's like
cool.
One of those things where, like, when you just feel like really stressed, that's the mug I go to. So it's like a little warning to everyone that, like, especially my husband, like, he's like, oh, okay, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know, I just feel anxious today, or I just feel different today. I need this mug.
I love it.
Takes you back to memories.
And now I see a fair amount, like you have tagged her in different Insta stories and things. Do you live close to each other, or do you just stay in good touch?
We live about an hour and a half away from each other, but
so that's doable to meet up.
Yeah. So we started meeting up once a month now. So she's now in a good position at her job where she can say this days on certain months. We meet every third Tuesday of every month. So she has, like, in that position where she's like, okay, this Tuesday from now on until I say it, I'm having it off. And so we're stopping soon when this baby comes. But I mean, it's been nice to have kind of like a set. Like sometimes it feels weird to schedule meetings with people that you love, which like you shouldn't, but I mean we're at that time of age where you have to. If you want to spend time with them, you have to schedule things.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to make time for it. So it makes sense to do that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Very nice. All right. And the third thing on your cozy
Yes.
things list.
So now I'm going to films and TV shows, and I only have two and an honorable mention. So I have first the films of Harry Potter. Obviously, I
Yes.
had it just has to be mentioned.
And you know what I love too is I love all the films. Well, except for maybe 7 Part 1 because it's so depressing. But the older ones like movies 1 and 2 are really really campy, but I still
Mhm.
love them. And I think it's fun too because it's all Harry's taking in everything that's new in the wizarding world, and there's just something very charming about them. And I think since we grew up watching them, they're just very nostalgic.
Yes, they're just I feel like that like they're very nostalgic. I didn't know the first two movies came out premiere when I was still living in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know, since we didn't have, I lived in like a small ranch. We didn't have like a library, public library, or our school library didn't have Harry Potter books. It mainly had like books of just educational books.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it first premiered, the first movie, my dad decided to take us. It was like an hour, 2 hours away, our first like theater. And he took us and I ended up loving it. And then the second movie premiere, and he also took us to the premiere night.
Oh.
And then we moved for when the third movie is coming out, we have moved to the United States. I
Mm-hmm.
guess I didn't grasp, I was 10 years old. I didn't grasp the idea that you could go back and forth. Like you could cross the border back if you want to go back to Mexico. So I was really sad. I was like, that's it, like we're not gonna watch
Oh.
those movies. And then I entered in school and I saw the books and I was like, there's actually books about it. Like I didn't know, but my dad kept that tradition. Like he said, we need something to like, I guess he knew it was a big move for us. So whenever
Mm.
the third movie premiered, he also took us back to Mexico to like the same theater and we watched it there. We watched almost all the movies. I think the last ones where we just decided to watch them in the United States. But other than that, like from three, I think, to five, we watched them in Mexico.
That is so cool. I love what a
Yeah.
like family memory it is. Now, when you watched them in Mexico, were they dubbed in Spanish or did you watch them in
Yeah.
English?
They were in Spanish. I barely watched the films in English when I was probably like 26, and that was 3 years ago. That
Mm-hmm.
was the first time I actually watched like the full movies all in English. And the
Yeah.
first time I watched them, I was, it's so weird. Like that's how Danny Radcliffe sounds like. Like
So
no.
do you almost prefer to watch them in Spanish?
Yes, because we still
That's
watch them like
fun.
every now and then when I go back to my parents' house. Like we watch them and then they still don't understand like full English.
Mm-hmm.
So we watch them in Spanish and it just brings all these feelings. And I'm like, that's how he sounds. Like that's how he should sound. Like I didn't know he had an accent. Like it was just, I thought it was like, oh, he speaks English, but I mean his
Yeah.
British accent, or what's the England accent. I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, okay. They
Oh,
sound
that's so
so weird
funny.
in my head.
And then I'm also curious, the things like spells like Axio and Avada Kedavra, is that just, they just translate it those exact words for things
Yeah.
like that? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's kind of like
interesting.
the same. It's nothing like a big change.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, very interesting. So that was your
Yeah.
first cozy film. And then did you have a
Yes.
couple others you wanted to show?
Yes. The other one was Gilmore Girls. I think everybody just turns into fall and it's Gilmore Girls time. I remember seeing it first like on cable. So I didn't really grasp the whole story because it wasn't like episode one, episode two. It's like all
A
like
jumble.
first, yeah, the whole jumble. But when Netflix adapted it, I was like, okay, this is good. I think I was 24 maybe when I first started watching it. And I was like, oh, just everything about like the relationship between Lorelai and Rory It was really nice. Look, he's like my all-time favorite one from the Gilmore Girls. And just Stars Hollow in general, like the small town feeling, it was just perfect.
Yes.
Gives you all
Yes.
the cozy feelings.
Yeah. And it's funny because sometimes like the life choices that Lorelai and especially Rory make, I'm very frustrated at them. And I was telling my husband, like, I like them as characters, but actually I think I just love the show for all of the other characters, like
Yes.
Kirk and TJ and Liz. And I, okay, this is going to be controversial to a third of the Gilmore Girls fans watching. I'm Team Logan. Um, I think if she
Me
had
too.
met Jess 10 years later, I would be Team Jess, but he is
Yeah.
just such a like, he wants to stir the pot, and just like such a little troublemaker. But I do think kind of he is very intellectual. But as far as actual boyfriends go, I'm Team Logan. And what are you? Or do you like them equally?
I agree with you. I am Team Logan just because I feel that he got the full personality of Rory. Because when she was with Dean, she was very sweet and innocent at the beginning, so she didn't really know how to have a boyfriend, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and then she went to her first breakup and stuff. And when Jess came along, she already kind of had an experience. So I'm guessing she was looking for a bad boy because Jess
Yes.
at the beginning, I did not like their relationship. Like they wouldn't talk or anything. I was like,
Yeah.
you had your first boyfriend that spent time in your house every single
Yes.
day to somebody that like doesn't talk to you. Like, no.
And
But
like
then I feel
doesn't
like
arrange dates in advance.
exactly, or just lets you forget that there was a date and he doesn't even apologize for it till like he gets
Yes.
caught. And I was like,
Yes.
and then Logan just gave her like an adventure, like she also was very an adventurous person. I mean, she wanted to be a journalist and go out there and be out there. So I feel like Logan got the best of both worlds from Rory. I didn't like
Such a good
the
point. I didn't think of that.
yeah, like he's also very sweet, or I mean, he told her the way he really was. I mean, he tried to change for her, but still I think
Mhm.
that was the more wholesome relationship that she got.
Yes, and maybe part of it is when she met him, she really didn't like him at first. And so she wasn't trying to put on any airs. And she
Yeah,
was just fully herself. So yeah. Um, and ju- I will never be happy with the ending. Um,
me either.
in case somebody hasn't fully watched it, I won't just say it explicitly, but yeah, very, very, very not happy with it.
Yeah, the last season of it, like what was it? What were they called? It was just like Gilmore Girls in a year, something like that,
Oh,
right?
a year in the life. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It
Like
just
those
it didn't
were
feel like the
just
show at all. And
no, it was
someone
very
pointed out,
whimsical.
yeah, yeah. And someone pointed out too, they loved it. They're like, oh, well, she's turning into her mother. And then I was talking about it with my husband later. I'm like, Lorelai does, she makes some crummy choices sometimes, but when she
Mhm.
makes like the terrible choices she makes in the heat of the moment, whereas Rory, I feel like kind of just does things. And I'm like, no, she's worse. Like she's making really unwise decisions. So I really
Yeah.
hope they would maybe do another like sequel. And I don't know, kind of things were also left a little bit ambiguous too about Rory. And yeah,
Yeah,
we'll just have to
especially
wait and
that
see.
they met like the original series. She was very into like studying and reading, and all that went away in like the news, the year in a life or whatever it's like called.
Yes.
I can't remember. All of that went away. Like the things that we were kind of like saying, okay, Rory, I don't agree with your dating decisions, but that book that you're reading, I need to read it, or I read it and I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's
And
like you could be like, oh boy, she's kind of a hot mess, but she still feels like Rory. And it just felt very different from the Rory that we knew in the series.
yeah, but like
So
you said, like I feel because we got everybody back, like I feel like that's what kept us rewatching it, because now that we completely understand like her dating things, and then
yeah.
sometimes there are buys in their relationship, like mother-daughter relationship, I was like, I don't think
Yes.
so. But I mean, you
Yeah.
have Kirk, then you have Luke, Then you have April. April, I think, was a really good addition to it.
I
It
loved April.
surprised me.
Yes, and apparently some fans can't stand April because they feel like that's like the beginning of the end for Luke and Lorelai. But I just think she's a great character, and I think it was Luke was having trouble kind of fully committing anyway, and this was kind of just an excuse. Yeah, she's a great character.
She is.
And she also talks a mile a minute like Lorelai and Rory.
Yeah, I feel like she was a good addition to it. And I think it made us think like, okay, Luke is human, you know, because he's like the grumpy of the town and whatnot, but he's very helpful. He's just not very like lovey-dovey. He's just like, I'll be there for you, but I don't want to be there for this things that are going on. And so that to feel that, okay, he's human, you know, he's trying, this something big happened in his life, because the other big thing was Rachel. But other than that, it was like this kid. And I mean, it was weird that it was thrown there, but I think it was a good addition.
Yes, I agree. Oh yeah, I'm currently in season 5. So I've just, Logan is just now becoming a part of the show. Right. So I'm happy.
Yes.
Alrighty, so then is there another cozy movie or TV show?
An honorable mention, I am on season 2 of Murder, She Wrote. I've always like seen it around, and I was like, I don't think I'll be interested in that. I'm just like, I'll just stick to Agatha Christie books. I'll just read it and imagine it in my mind. But then one time I was like, I'm just gonna watch one episode, and I'm already on almost season 3. And I love it. Awesome. Jessica Fletcher is so funny, and it's just almost every single episode is so different that I'm like, oh, there's no way, like the next one's probably gonna have something that you're like, oh, I can see it. I see it coming. And it's like, no, now she's thrown into a prison with all women, and I was like, what is going on? Like that one is a show that I'm enjoying right now.
Oh, it's delightful. And it wasn't until I think 2 years ago that I had finally watched an episode. And it's so unbelievably safe feeling, even though it's about murder. Like, you just know if Jessica Fletcher is around, everything's going to be okay. But my one gripe is that actually I really basically enjoy the episodes in Cabot Cove. And I feel like only about half the episodes actually take place in Cabot Cove. Now, my sister-in-law was telling me, I don't know what season this is, but apparently in a couple episodes, Jessica Fletcher's British cousin comes, and it's also played by Angela Lansbury.
Yeah. I think it's on season 2. That one was
okay.
At first when I saw it, I was like, oh, maybe she's pretending to be somebody else, you know? But no, it turns out that they're cousins, and I'm like, it was just so weird to see that. Like, but it was good. I did think she had a twin or something. I was like, wow, it's really good acting.
Yeah, but I wouldn't mind having her life at all, living in a little like New England seaside town and writing murder mysteries. Sounds like a good deal. And having like random nephews, like they're always a different nephew. Yes.
She has family like everywhere, apparently.
Yes.
Not in Cabot Cove, but apparently everywhere around the world.
And has like a friend that she knows in like each place.
Yeah. It's really fun to see that too. But yeah, I do agree. I wish there was more like murder mystery in the small town. Mm-hmm. But the shows that have happened there, they're good.
Yes. I might just like marathon through all of the episodes that are in Cabot Cove. I could like look up the synopsis in advance. Because when I enjoy it, I super enjoy it. And like for Cloak and Dagger Christmas, we watched a Christmas episode, and that was in Cabot Cove, and that one was super fun. So I liked it. Alrighty, let's move on, I guess, to the 4th cozy thing. And what is that?
Let me see. For that one, this is the 5th one. For that one is the books now. Let's move on to books. And that one is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. This is like my number 1 all-time favorite book ever.
Wow.
And it was weird because I don't know if it's happened to you where you're like, I love this book, so the author must be good, right? But then it takes you years to pick up another book about her, like from them. So I read this, it was my high school requirement for ninth grade. I was 14 years old, so I thought it was a little too early for me to read about intentional murder, especially when I was reading, I was like, okay, why are we reading this so like early in my youth? Like these people really want to like kill each other. It's not like accidentally someone falls and dies. It's like somebody's trying to kill them.
Yes.
And so I thought, I was like, I really love her and love her writing and the story, but I'm gonna take some years. And I think I picked up the other one when I was graduating from high school. So I was already 18 and 19. I was like, I think I can handle it more now. And from there, that's when I started reading more
Oh, how
about her. But
fun.
this was my first Agatha Christie. I thought I was too young to read, but I
I have to
guess
tell
the
you,
school was okay with it.
yeah. And I have to tell you, I'm too much of a scaredy cat to get through that one. I've tried a couple times and it's just super creepy, which speaks to her
Hmm.
skill as a writer. Now,
Yeah.
ironically, I have made it through the more recent TV adaptation they did with Aidan Turner and Charles Dance. Um, and it is creepy. It is so good though. And they have kind
Yeah.
of all of the atmosphere in it. Um,
Is that the one that's like 4 hours long or something?
I think it's around 4 hours. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I think because I've always told my husband, he's, we're like 5 years together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's always said, I would read at least one book from like York, because he's not a reader, he's a collector. Because he does have on my bookshelf, like the last two are all full of his books. And I'm like, you need to read them or get your own shelf because I need space. And he's like, eventually I'll read them. And I'm like, you won't. And so I told him, read. There was a time in our relationship where he had to go work far away. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, well, read them. And so he took it and he never read it. So I told him,
That's
okay, well, let's watch the movie. And I think he bought that movie. And I was like, well, I've never watched any adaptation of it. So let's watch it. But yeah, I think it was like 4 hours long, but I think it got everything that it needed to get.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was full of atmosphere. Now, the one thing, well, I was wondering if a certain plot element had been changed, but that's very spoilery, so we don't have to get into it.
Yeah. And I think it added sort of like a romance, like a steamy romance. And it was kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I guess I'll roll with it. But yeah, but I'm like that didn't happen in the book. Or
Yes.
that I don't think I remember that part.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's just, I think it depends the differences that they will make in an adaptation. Sometimes I'm like, okay, that works for it. And then sometimes I'm like, no, 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 no. So it
Yeah,
just depends on.
especially like a book of, and then there were nine. Like that's one thing I would tell. Like I follow this group, Christie Fest. I think it's run
Oh,
by Julie.
yes.
And so every time I feel like it's so weird that there's like somebody they're falling in love in like an Agatha Christie murder mystery, and or getting married. Like once the everything's resolved, they're like, oh, we're gonna go get married. And I'm like, how can you be so in love with someone when like you don't know who's the killer? Like when do you have time to think about love?
That is
But
funny. You
I
would think
think
kind of
it helps.
when you're in mortal peril, are you really thinking about falling in love? But I guess I've never
Yeah.
been,
Feel like
in
if
a
she's not
mortal
the
peril.
killer, I'm gonna marry her.
Oh, I love it.
uh,
Okay, so I guess, is it the sixth cozy thing we're moving on
yes.
to? Okay.
Yes. The next one is Jane Eyre. Look at this. I think you have the same edition,
We
right?
do. We both bought that edition, the same Victober.
This, yeah, the same October. I was
Yes.
surprised to see that it's not easy to like write on it. But
I remember because I messaged you because I had ordered it afterwards and you were like, just so you know, it's not good for annotating. And I was like, oh, and then I got it.
yeah, it's
Oh, it's not.
glossy,
Yeah,
but it's good. It's like it opens up nicely.
it
Like
does.
the letter size. If anybody's interested, it's really good. It's a really beautiful edition.
It
But
is.
Jane
Oh,
Eyre, my first memories of it was going into my middle school library and seeing like the classic sections, and I was like, oh wow, and it just caught my attention. I think like I think it's a picture of like a little girl in the front cover of it.
mhm.
So it caught my attention, and I was like one of those girls where I would check out some books that I would actually read and then check out other books that make me look like a reader.
Oh.
And Jane Eyre was one, and I was like, it was huge. I was like, I'm not gonna read this as a middle school, like no. And then for some reason, it was a book I would check out throughout high school and read like a couple
Oh.
of pages, but I was never able to like fully read the whole book till I think it was my last semester in high school. Where I was like, I need to read it before I leave. Like I need to read this book. And I read it and I fell in love with it. And I was so thankful that I read it when I did, because I feel like I understood more about it. And I know it's a
Mm.
very book with people either like it or hate it, but to me, it's like if you didn't like it, it's because you didn't read it. I think that was
Well,
the conversation we were having in the Kindred Spirit. Maybe you
yes,
didn't read. What was
yeah,
it? Ivanhoe, for
yes,
Ivanhoe? It's because you didn't read it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think also kind of the romance, it does have some like, well, is it the most functional relationship? But I think that most of us that love the book, it's Jane that
Yeah.
she's just amazing. And so even if I wouldn't necessarily 100% pick what she picked, I'm happy that she's happy.
Yes. I mean, I could trim down the whole time when she went spend time with her cousins, but
Yes.
other
You know
other
what?
than
Honestly,
that, it
I
was
love that time. Like I just because I think I am someone who I like getting to see characters move around to different settings.
oh,
And
okay.
so I really love kind of the I don't know, I love it. So but
I
I do
love
know
that she
you're not
had
alone in that.
family. Yeah, I love that she ended up having family. Like that was really, really cool. But I mean, I think I could have done with a little less St. John, but other than that, like
Yes.
it was good.
Yes. Yeah. And well, I think it's just so wonderful that you found it. And like you said, you read it when you did, and you were newer to classics. And I think it's just
Yeah,
one of the great beginner classics. It is
agree.
just it's written in first person, and that makes it so approachable.
Yes, especially that you feel like there's some things that I guess like her main thing, and I think it's a Bronte thing, because I mean I don't really know if Jane Austen does this because I've only really read like three, but
Mhm,
not like I think Pride and Prejudice I never really got through like
mhm.
full. But I know the Brontes have this things to say like dear reader or reader, and it just brings you more into the story. You're like, yes, I'm here, like I'm listening. Like
Yes.
it just brings you closer to them. I don't know, like to the
Yes.
whole story. You're like immersed in it.
Yes. And I love you use Dear Reader in your posts. And I really,
Yeah.
really, it makes me so happy every single time I see it. And
Oh,
it's like
thank
this,
you.
it's for people who don't know that reference from Jane Eyre, it's just a nice title, but then it's just an added bonus if you know it. And you're like, oh, I love that, you know?
Yeah. Especially like the whole, I think like my favorite one from like the quote from this book is where it says, reader, I married him. Like to
Yes.
me, that was just, you go girl. Like you're,
Yes.
like you said, like you're happy. I am happy for you. I cheer you on. Like
Yes. Oh,
he's a little intense, which is why I understand why people, but at the same time, I'm like, she deserves to be happy. And if she's happy, that's all that
yes.
matters.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, if Jane's happy, we are happy.
Yeah.
All right. So then is it item 7? I lost track now.
Yes. Item 7. This one's just quick, but that's Harry Potter, like the books now. When I found out that there was actually books based on movies where
Yes, yes. That must have been such a fun discovery. Like even more
it
Harry Potter material.
yes, it was. And it actually helped me learn English because like I think a lot of people know that like English and Spanish are very like kind of like similar in some words where you kind of like,
Yes.
oh, okay, you understand it. Maybe you don't know. I didn't know how to pronounce it, but I knew what the word was.
Yes.
And so it helped me because I watched the movies in Spanish. So the book, I was like, in some parts, obviously it's not exactly the same movie to book adaptation, but it really helped me. And
yes.
these are the books that and it made me have library friends because a lot of people were reading this book. So it was nice. Like, even if you wouldn't talk much, you would just go and say hi and sit down and open your book and read. And it was the same kids reading the same like Harry Potter books. It was really, really nice.
That's so fun. And it is, I just love to, since they are so well known, like one summer when I was a nanny, I saw one of the lifeguards at the pool that I brought the kids to. He was reading through the 7th book and he's very close to the end. And he's like, he's this teenage dude. And I said, oh, or, are you, is it a reread? He's like, yeah, I'm going to try to hold it together in front of everyone while I'm reading these last 2 chapters. And I just love that he said, I was like, I feel you.
I know. I went to, it was one of like the stores in McAllen, and there was this, we were just looking, right, like around, there was books and Harry Potter merchandise and then other like toys for our little ones. So my little ones were interested in like the little cars. Right now they're into dinosaurs and cars. So they were looking at that, and then there was like this almost, she kind of looked like 9-10 years old, and there was like a plate and a cup of like Harry Potter, and she's like, look, Mom, can I get this one? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, you have taught her right. I was like, you are such a good mom. And she laughed. She was like, she had to. Let's say I got so excited when like she wanted to read the books. I was like, yes, let's buy them all.
That's so fun. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's good when like I feel like your kids like something that you enjoy. I mean, obviously you're not gonna pressure them to like it, because that's what I tell my husband. I'm like, I'm not gonna push the books, I'm not gonna push the movies, but they see me reading them and they see me watching the movies, so they're kind of just like into it. And I'm like, one day one of them is gonna say, Mom, can I borrow your book? That's gonna be like, I did it, I made it.
I have arrived. And
Yeah.
you know what? It's funny. My husband and I, we have had way too many conversations debating when our oldest will be allowed to kind of imbibe the stories. And I'm of the opinion, like, I'm like, well, the first 2, they're not that intense. Like, I think those would be okay. But my husband's like, no, he needs to be able to read them all in one go. So we have to wait until he's old enough to read all of them. So Peter's 7 now, and I feel like when he's 8, I just feel like that would be a really great age for the first one. So we'll see what we end up agreeing at.
Yeah, because it's just like we are adults, and I really I really don't want to start a series where I know it's not finished yet, because I know myself, like, I just want to know what happens, and if I let it go, then I'm probably not going to be interested. It's going to take me a year to return to like the next one, and then I'm going to forget what the first one was. So I feel like y'all need to have a conversation again, because I feel like it's gonna be like, okay, Mom, give me the other ones. Oh, they're not out yet. they're still publishing them.
Yes. Yeah, that makes me think then maybe just wait until 10, and then maybe we could just be like, you're just allowed to read all of them, even though they are kind of intense for a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I don't know if you really wanted to read them. Now, I have not started The Name of the Wind, or is that it? The Name of the Wind? Patrick Rothfuss, it's like a fantasy series. Yeah. And people kept being like, oh, the 3rd one's going to come out any year now. And it still hasn't. So I'm like, yep, I'm still confident in my decision to wait.
Yes. I finished actually the first book this year. I started last year with 2 books for grammars, and midway we just decided to like, okay, we're not really feeling it. And that's what I think of. Yeah, that's what I think about it, because that whole book takes place in like one day of him telling the person the story of him. You know, like it's him telling the story. It wants to be like written down. And then
See,
I think it's like a certain age, and then the second book is from like this age to this age, and then like the third book is from like so and so. So to me, I was
I
like,
I struggle
there was
with
some
books where
action,
it's
but
someone
no.
telling a story in the book. And that sounds silly because isn't every book a story, but I like to
Yeah.
be in that, in like present in the story. I don't know how I feel
Yeah,
about
this
that.
one is supposed to be him like talking to this person who's gonna put his story out there. So
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah.
Hmm. We shall have to wait and see when the third one comes out. I'll still try it and
Yeah.
we'll see what I
Do it
think.
with the audiobook. I think it'll help a little
Ooh,
more.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, like do the combo and see if you're feeling it, because I think it is a good story. It's just I feel like it's so long that there's only parts where it's like action and then not really much action, and then something does happen, and then
I
for
see.
300 pages more like nothing happens, and it's like
I'll have to
and then
really
the
like
book
his
is not
writing.
out. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
last one, the book is not out, so you're kind of like, is she even writing it? Like
Yes. Yes.
like if she
Oh,
doesn't know where the story's going or what's going on, or is it like
yes.
super long?
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
I do feel more confident in like the what is it, Morrigan Crow series by Jessica Townsend, because she keeps
Okay,
talking
yes.
about when the next one will come out. And there's a like
Mm-hmm.
very soon after one is published, she'll give hints and then a release date is out. So, and even the release date for this, is it the fourth one now? I've like lost count. I think it's the fourth one that's coming
Yeah, I
out.
think it's the fourth one.
It did get pushed back, but I still feel in safe hands because she's like, it's coming out October of 2022. And like, was like, I didn't feel confident in the story. We needed to pause for editing. So I'm hoping. And she seems like she knows where she wants the story to go. So that it is fun to follow along
Yeah.
with that, and like try to be first in line on hold for it at the library. And that's fun.
Yes, especially because one of those authors for me used to be Nicholas Sparks. Nicholas Sparks was the
Yes.
first one that got me into like that romance, but like it also had some mystery like to it, like either
Mm-hmm.
a violent ex-boyfriend or something like that. So
Yes.
I was so excited because he was one of those authors. He was the only author at that time that was writing the books that I like, that was alive, still writing the books that I enjoyed. So I was
Yeah.
really excited. And I think he's very consistent. Like a year after year, he's like getting a new books out.
Yes.
And but then
And
I
he's written
stopped
so
just
many.
because I was like, okay, I feel that there's a little repetitiveness like now. So I'm just
Yes.
not gonna, but now I think he's coming up with the kind of like making a historical fiction, like
Really
adding into it. I think The Wish is one of them, and The
interesting.
Return or something like that. I think that's
Huh.
another one where it's like every breath there's like he goes into the beach and he actually found this kind of like a little free library, but there was letters in it that people would just write, and he
Oh,
actually sat down. I don't remember what book that one's from, but
wow.
it's actually like based on a true encounter. And
That's cool.
so I was like, oh, that's really really nice. But so I'm trying to like give him another chance this year, but
Hmm.
I feel just like after we read what was it, Her Caprice, like now that's the kind of romance that I want in my life.
Yes, her Caprice it was so good. And that's just to know that there are books like that out there. It's been fun. It's only within the last, like year that I've found new release authors that I'm really excited about their books.
Yes.
And that's been fun.
Yeah.
Okay, are we at item 8? Is that where we're at?
Yes. So for those, I have puzzles. I mean, these are the only puzzles that I have right now, but there's something about them, even though sometimes they can be stressful, finding like you're in that one either last piece and you can't really find it, or like certain things or the edges don't match. You're just, I mean, obviously they have to match, but in your mind, you feel like they did you wrong and they didn't put the whole things in there. But there's something about them just leaving them in a table and seeing that whenever you're ready, they're there. Like
Yes.
they're just waiting for you. There's no pressure in anything. And there's something about just sometimes you just lose yourself with like a good audiobook, and you can just go and like just be free. Like your mind is free. You're just immersed in a story, working on this puzzle. And I feel like
Yes.
that is something that like I keep telling my husband, like, I want to try it. Like I want to open it because it was a Christmas gift and it still hasn't been opened. And I'm like, I want to open it, but I know with my little ones right now, I just feel bad. Like I feel like the bully be like, don't touch it, it's mommy's. Like like
You
this is
could,
my stuff.
if you really had a hankering for doing a puzzle, you could get a puzzle roll and work on it while they're in bed, and then like roll it up, and
I've heard about those.
yeah, it is. So it is, an ordeal to like set up and take down each night. But that could be, if you just like were really wanting to work on a puzzle, that could be
Yeah,
fun.
I think I'm gonna research some of those to see which one's like the best one not too big but not too small, like just perfect for
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah.
I feel like whenever, like, let's say they're gonna take a nap and I don't feel like physically reading, I'll
Yes.
just be like, okay, I got this.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? One of my favorite reading memories was there was a snowy weekend, and this is when my oldest was just a year and a half, and we were living with my parents. And at this stage for him, just daddy was everything. When daddy was around and home, I did not exist. So it was kind of nice for me, because on this snowy weekend, then he just followed my husband around the whole weekend. And I sat in the dining room and listened to Jane Eyre, and worked on a puzzle, and then also alternated with shoveling snow. And so it was just the most immersive way to read Jane Eyre.
Yes, I bet. And then every time you open up, like it's just so nostalgic when you things like that, when you connect other things together, like whether it's with the
Yes.
weather or like you open a puzzle and then you listen to an audiobook, you're like, oh, I remember. It's like one of
Yes.
like I that's what I tell my husband, like there's times that I can, if I'm gonna read Jane Eyre, I remember, oh, I used to listen, or if I listen to like a song pops out, like a classical instrumental song, and you're like, oh, I read Jane Eyre while listening to this album, or things like
Yes.
that. And I tell my husband, like, reading is the same thing as like if you watch a movie and you're like, oh, I remember I was with so and so watching this film. And it's like,
Yes.
that's how we feel as readers. Like, I remember when I
Yes.
first read Jane Eyre, I was sitting this, I was doing that. And it's like, it's just beautiful. Like the things that
Yes.
books bring us, like, it's just so nice.
And I love too, I think it's for your oldest, you were kind of annotating an edition of Wives and Daughters. And then
Yes.
she'll have that when she's older.
I know. And then my husband laughs because I was trying to do the same for my second pregnancy. I wasn't able to finish it because it was harder now that taking care of, like, I think my little one was about to be 1 when I found out I
Oh
was
yeah.
pregnant.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I feel like extra tired. With that one I could do it, but with my second child, I was like, I won't be able to finish. I was trying to do the Count of Monte Cristo, which I'm reading right now with Angie.
Oh
But
wow, that's a
I know like
chunker.
the yes, like the first pages, and then my husband's like, if you want them to read, he's like, for this third baby, do something smaller, like do something between 200 and 300 pages, because what if our girls are not readers and they're like, I want to open it because mom wrote in it, but then I don't want to read like so many, like and I was like, okay,
That's
I'll
so
try.
funny.
And I told him, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do an Agatha Christie for my third pregnancy. And then he's like, are you serious? He's like, you're reading murder mystery when you're pregnant to like the baby. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I
Oh,
was like,
that's
she's one
so
of my
funny.
favorite authors.
Yes. Though, and chances are, like, if they grow up with a mom that loves mysteries, they might just love mysteries.
Exactly. They're gonna start with Nancy Drew and work their way up
Oh,
there.
yes. Yes. Alrighty. What is the ninth cozy thing?
That one, it's just a simple prayer journal
Mm,
where it's kind of like a diary, and I feel like no one really understands you but God.
yes.
So there was
Yes.
something where I just put like Dear Father, and I just write or do prayers. And I think I have here for like my first pregnancy. So it's really hard for me to like throw them at the end because that was my intention. Like I'm only allowed to read them, like they're just for me.
Mm.
So I was like, I'm just gonna, like once they're done, that's it. Like he knows what's in my heart. I'm gonna burn it. But then I was like, but there's also like memories in here. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but there's something so special about it that it makes you feel more relaxed. Like even you can talk to your husband like about things, and to your mom or to your mother-in-law or whoever, like your best friend. But
Mm-hmm.
there's other things that you just really deeply want only God to know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I feel like just having a journal around for whatever, like I've seen those beautiful ones where it's so like perfect, like dates and prayer answered and like so beautiful. But I'm just like, no, I need something that if I'm in the middle of the night I can just pull out and write, and not having to
Yes.
color code it or anything like that. But
Yes.
prayer journals, like just overall journals in general, like the reading journal, prayer journal, just thought dumping journal. Like
Oh,
I
that's
feel like there's
lovely.
something just to let it all out.
Yes. Yes. Very cool. And then we move on to, it's the last cozy thing. What is your 10th cozy thing?
The 10th cozy thing is Booktube. I feel
Yay.
I feel like Booktube just really is a wonderful place where you just get to hear other people talk about their favorite books, even if they're not my favorite books. When you see them holding like oh, this book and I loved it, like the way when you talk about like Elizabeth Gaskell, it's just you can feel it, and you want to read it because I want to feel what you were feeling, like that kind of thing. Of course we understand that at the end it's like, okay, Kate, it wasn't that good, but but like just the fact that you see people getting excited about it, it was like, it's just perfect. And you meet wonderful people, exhibit A.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
you get to talk, and my husband always finds that so weird. He's like, it's so weird how the internet can bring people together from everywhere. That's it.
Yes.
I don't have close, very close friends. My best friend Kim, she's the one like that I see like once every month.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're starting to like buddy read together. But
That's so
even when
great.
we were in college together, we wouldn't do that because we had other things. My family members are not readers. So it was really
Mm-hmm.
hard to like wanting, I mean, they get excited when I talk to them about books, but at the same time, I know that they don't know what I'm talking about. That they're just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like
Yeah.
anyway, like,
Yeah.
but in
Yeah, but
this one, it's
to
like,
be able to be kind of find your people is so lovely.
yes, it is. It really is. So I think that's what books are gonna do for me. I found Booktube when it's like a bittersweet memory because I was reading Room by Emma Donoghue,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't feeling it. And I was like, but a lot of people said that this was like a good one. It was like one of those recommendations of Barnes and Nobles where they're like, you need to read this book. And I was like,
Yes.
the premise of it sounds so good and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it and I was like, I'm not feeling it. Let me just put it on YouTube, like a review, like somebody talking about it. And that's when I found out that there was actually people talking about different books. And I was like, oh, wow. And then you start subscribing to everybody that has like your similar taste.
Yes.
And now I'm at that point where like, I don't read too much sci-fi, but I want to subscribe to people that love sci-fi. Like that's their love,
Mm.
because you get recommendations from there. Like whether I'm going to read one, maybe yes, maybe not, but I'll have someone that loves it and knows what they're
Yes.
talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, there really are kind of booktube channels for all sorts of tastes. And
Mm-hmm.
it's fun too because I felt when I was first on booktube there weren't that many channels where people read mysteries. And now I feel like through March Mystery Madness, I've been able to find more channels where they read mysteries. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's just such a
I think
delight.
that's what read along like things like that do, because I know for
Yes.
you're making Victober, like you find a lot of people were like, oh, Victober read along TBR, and you're just kind of like, oh wow,
Yeah.
like let me check this person out, see what she's reading, and then you end up knowing you have similar tastes, and it's just so easy to like subscribe to them and be like, I'll
Yes.
see you next October. Like,
Yes. Yeah, yeah. It is fun. And especially because some people, maybe if they aren't as active, you know, during certain points in the year making videos, but then they'll like come back for a Victober TBR, and it's fun to
yes.
see what they're reading. Yes. Well, thank you so much for doing a Cozy Things chat with me, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.